Susan Banks, and I'm the communications manager for the city of Lake Forest. And a lot of what I do is writing and editing. There's a city newsletter called The Dialogue that is sent to all the residents on a quarterly basis. And I'm in charge of the website and the content on the website, and do a lot of writing and communications for press, public relations, a lot of working with the city council.
I'm Kathy Cerniak. I'm the director of community development, and the community development department is responsible for development throughout the city, both shorter term development, such as when someone's building a house or a new business is going in, putting up new signage, but also longer term development, thinking about what happens over the long term. If we make some decision today, what might that mean 5 years from now or 10 years from now, or how might that affect other decisions? So we work a lot with maps and graphics, work a lot with our residents and builders, architects, developers and business owners in the community.
Higher learning, which became Lake Forest College.
Okay.
So those were the first people here, those people and farmers. And then the industrialists came to Chicago and saw what was happening in Lake Forest, thought it was a beautiful place to build homes, and then that whole rash of residents came. The Marshall Fields and the Armours and the Swifts and all the people who had big industry downtown and wanted to establish a bedroom community for their homes.
My aunt is the Chicago Fire also was part of that history, and it was a time when people did look for a place with fresh air and more space. And the settlement of Lake Forest happened earlier than that. It was really more driven by things like the Chicago Fire, or the fact that people were very wealthy and wanted a country home.
Yeah.
They lived in the city, but we have situations where gentlemen's farms, as they were called, were developed. So someone living in the city would own a farm. They wouldn't be the ones working it.
Yeah.
That's why they called them gentlemen's farms, because other people worked it.
Yeah.
But they'd come out for the weekend and ride a horse or tend to their cows or whatever. And it's different than I think some other suburbs, because it was a very early suburb. And in fact isn't often called a suburb, but is a separate municipality that is a city of its own, really. But that mix of larger lots, smaller neighborhoods, you always hear how years ago many of the teachers in the community, or many of the teachers in the schools, lived in the community, or a police officer from the police department lived down the street. So people grew up years ago much more of a community.
Okay.
Today we do have a situation where it is difficult for city employees or nurses at the hospital or even some teachers to live in the community, and that's one issue that we're trying to work towards. It is the affordable housing that the city is working to support is actually meeting the needs of those people who have a connection with Lake Forest, either because they grew up here, they work here, maybe it's an older couple whose children now live here. So it's all those making it possible to have kind of that fabric of all people of all different income levels. Lake Forest has is that many of our institutions, Lake Forest College, Lake Forest Academy, the hospital, they also provide affordable housing for their employees on their site.
Still is a great mix of culture in the community, and I think that that's what makes Lake Forest a desirable place to live. As one of Kathy's jobs is to, make sure that that continues so that options are available. And with this new development, I think that not only are these apartments just necessarily for younger people, but a lot of people are looking to downsize because they don't spend a lot of time you know, all their time in Lake
Yeah.
Forest anymore. So this Baptist church here was, I don't know, Kathy, do you know when that was established? That's one of the oldest structures in Lake Forest,
Okay.
as far as I know. One of the oldest churches, too.
Mhm.
And that's obviously still being used. As Kathy mentioned, there always has been, you know, a more diverse culture just because of the working opportunities in town. Lake Bluff was established as a Methodist church camp.
Okay.
The housing-
My sense is Lake Bluff, because it is smaller, perhaps doesn't have as much diversity.
Okay.
But certainly they are seeing some situations where some smaller homes are being torn down, so it gets more expensive to live there. Waukegan had a little bit of a different history because it was, again, far enough away from Chicago to kind of be its own city. And I want to say 30s, 40s, 50s, Waukegan really was a booming community.
And it was a very wealthy community.
Yeah.
And had some beautiful homes on Sheridan.
Yeah.
Jack Benny.
Yeah.
So it really is a different type of community.
Okay.
I think it was more industrial.
It was definitely more industrial.
Lake Forest
for sure.
is, and I think always will be, a residential community. Well, the city council has made diversity in housing a priority, maintaining a diversity of housing, because that's the history of this community. Again, unlike other communities, the council has adopted a housing policy and some requirements. You mentioned the new development that's proposed up on Western and Laurel. That new development will need to meet a requirement of 15% affordable units.
Okay.
So I believe the council has made that a priority.
Okay.
I think they recognize that not everyone will be able to live in Lake Forest, but maintaining housing that can meet various price points has been real important to the city council.